And good evening, everyone. I'm Ron Steele.
And I'm Abby Turpin. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, it is election night all across eastern Iowa. This is, of course, the first time that Iowa's city and school board elections have been held combined on the same day.
And we do have Team 7 coverage tonight. KWWL reporters are covering different mayoral and city council elections. So voters across Iowa have been casting their ballots since polls opened at 7 o'clock this morning.
They remain open until 8 tonight. We're following, of course, several races very closely, including the big one in Cedar Falls, the race for Cedar Falls mayor. With that in mind, let's go live right now to KWWL reporter Taylor Vessel. He's live for us right now. He'll be covering that race tonight.
Yeah, Taylor, let's talk more about the issues first. What's on the minds of voters today?
Ron and Abby, I've spoken to a few different voters throughout the night so far, and each of them told me something a little bit different. Some are concerned about education, some are concerned about the focus of economic development in the city, others both for and against the PSO program. Now, the three candidates vying for the mayoral seat would be incumbent Mayor Jim Brown, Councilman at Large Rob Green, and former UNI professor Jim Skane.
If I'm your president, I will treat health insurance for you just as if it were my own family.
So ACA, you're a supporter of that. Do you see any changes necessary in the Affordable Care Act?
Oh,
right
yes.
now?
By the way, you know, if you notice, everybody's now adopted the Biden plan.
Let's say you're an Iowa corn producer today. You're producing a bushel of corn. Do you know the break-even price on that?
I don't. But what I do know is...
I appreciate your honesty.
Well, I don't. But what I do know is this, and I actually raise cattle, I raise pigs, and I raise chickens. So actually, I run my own ranch. What I know in terms of corn is this. For Iowa corn farmers to succeed, they need to end the trade war.
Should have anything to apologize about because they've worked hard to get what they have. But what do you see wrong with the current tax structure that the Republican Congress approved?
Well, so I think the rollbacks on kind of the marginal tax rates, I would roll those back. In other words, I would raise the marginal tax rate.
And make sure that our government is truly of, by, and for the people.
You support universal health care in a form.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Iowa farmers are hurting right now. We have the tariffs, the trade war, and now a new issue has come up in recent days. They're giving the waivers, the administration is giving waivers to refineries, which means they do not have to produce as much ethanol. That hurts here in Iowa, so you need to give some love to Iowans here.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you brought up that.
Now, this includes the so-called road diet and new sports and events activity areas up in Bremer County, including the city of Waverly. So KWWL reporter Vinnie Lowry keeping a close eye on the election there in Bremer County.
Abby and Ron, I spoke with a few voters earlier tonight. I was at the polls themselves, and they told me that this mayor's race was one of the driving reasons behind getting to the polls. Mayor Dean Soash is the incumbent, having just about completed his first term in office. Soash currently has endorsements from 3 former Waverly mayors, and 39-year-old Adam Hoffman is challenging Mayor Soash. He has a deep history in law enforcement.
From a country where the equality between men and women is not the same, women are under, but seeing how things are going, you better trust women than us men. So.
As you talked about at the start of the show, Ron, this is the first time that city and school board elections have been combined. I'll be talking to the Johnson County auditor about how that went as far as turnout is concerned. We'll have his thoughts tonight at 10 o'clock. Reporting live in Iowa City, Travis Breeze, News 7 KWWL.
Hey, Travis, thanks for the update tonight here out of Iowa City. Let's go north now to Lynn County and Marion, where KWWL reporter Ashley Neighbor is standing by.
And she is covering the mayoral and city council races there. Ashley, tell us more of what you've been seeing today.
Well, Abby and Ron, I'm here at the Marion Library where voters are busy picking their next mayor.
Councilman Rob Green tonight pulls the upset. Green has been elected the new mayor of Cedar Falls.
The unofficial results show Rob Green getting 55% of the votes, Mayor Jim Brown getting 41% of the vote.
KWWL reporter Taylor Vessel has been following this race for us tonight. He's live right now in Cedar Falls. Taylor, tell us more.
Yeah, Ron, Abby, I spoke with Mayor-elect Green by phone just a few moments ago. He says that he thinks the results show that Cedar Falls citizens are looking for change. Now, I also spoke with him earlier at his watch party. He said one of the first things that he intends to do is review the plan to cross-train police as firefighters.
It's not going to be up to me to decide what that model should look like, but it certainly shouldn't just be up to a small.
I also spoke with the third candidate tonight, Jim Skane, who says he plans to continue to be an active voice at city council meetings. Live in Cedar Falls, Taylor Vessel, News 7 KWWL.
All right, Taylor, thank you very much. And also staying in Cedar Falls, the city council at-large seat. There is going to be a runoff between Nick Tiber and Dave Sayers. None of the candidates getting more than 50% of the vote.
No runoff in Ward 2 as Susan DeBure has been re-elected once again. She started serving back in 2004. Tonight she garnered 54% of the votes in her victory this evening over Derek Rogers.
And in Ward 4, no candidate getting more than 50% of the vote there as well. It'll be a runoff between.
And welcome to this week's edition of the Steele Report. My guest, obviously, the 43rd governor of Iowa, Governor Kim Reynolds, back here to the program. I think 3 or 4 times I've had you on. I always enjoy having you on. So this is the 1 or 2 times, though, since you've been elected the first woman governor of Iowa. So congratulations again on that. You've just gone through a big legislative session that we'll be talking about. But last week you were down in Davenport, Quad City flooding. So let's talk a little bit right away about the flooding situation in the Quad Cities and in western Iowa. It has been a record year for many of those folks.
It is, and it's not the kind of record that we like to set, but just catastrophic flooding on the western side of the state. And then last week, we had the Mississippi River continue to rise.
Defeating Dottie Ware with 54% of the vote in Evansdale. And for the Ward 3 race, Steve Seibel winning the council seat with 47%.
Let's move to Iowa City now. 3 women were battling for the 2 at-large city council seats available tonight in the Iowa City election. Janice Weiner and Laura Burgess each elected to 4-year terms to the Iowa City City Council tonight. This was Burgess's first run at office. She said she had to believe in herself. Weiner had previously tried for state senate and school board. She says it feels great to finally win one. Weiner and Burgess were both outdoor knocking on the afternoon of Election Day, their efforts being rewarded with more than 70% of the voter share tonight, for each of them adding up to about 200% since there were 2 vacancies. And both newly elected council members thanked their teams after tonight's victories.
I had amazing volunteers who were with me 100% of the way.
Continuing coverage of Decision 2019. You know, more than half of the entire Marion City Council on the ballot today.
That's right. And for Mayor Nicholas Abu-Asali winning after getting about 72% of the vote.
KWWL reporter Ashley Neighbor is covering these Marion elections for us tonight. She's live right now in Marion, where things have kind of wound down tonight.
Well, that's right, Ron. The watch party for Nicholas Abu-Asali just wrapped up here at Bistro 319. It was packed full of friends, families, and supporters. Abu-Asali won by a large lead of nearly 50%. Now,
but realistically, you have to win in the 4th district, so those are the people you need to concentrate on. The national media, you're kind of like the president in a way. You're not one of those that's going to say, or maybe it is time for you to say, maybe I did go a little too far. Maybe I should apologize. But you're not like that, are you?
Well, I'll apologize if I said something that's inaccurate or if it said something that's wrong. But when I'm criticized and attacked by people who think like that, when they insist on misquoting me and writing inflammatory headlines.
And also spoke with the senator one-on-one to ask about issues affecting Iowa.
Money has too much influence in Washington. I want people to have influence.
Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren continuing her grassroots-based campaign without any money from lobbies or PACs.
For me, it's about the kind of campaign I want to run.
In our interview, I asked the senator about issues close to Iowa, specifically trade.
Who is it you want first in this trade policy? I'm going to support our Democratic nominee.
On the flip side, she says,
this is the most corrupt administration in living memory.
Going forward, Warren says she'll continue to look for support on the ground to win the nomination.
I think there's nothing better than one of your neighbors, somebody down the block from you saying, what's the issue that matters to you? And
I'm real proud to say the last 4 years, we've seen record numbers of new businesses being formed on our UCC. So that's, I think, a good sign. People have confidence in our state. They're starting businesses or doing real estate transactions. So it's a trend we want to see continue.
Absolutely. one other thing, Paul, I wanted you to mention here is the Chapman Catt Award, which is coming up, which is geared to our young people in Iowa. Tell people what that's all about. Yeah.
Well, in an effort to get our young people involved from the very beginning, because it's start out on the right foot and you'll continue voting throughout your adult life.
Continuing our countdown to caucus coverage now, presidential candidate Joe Biden making stops in Iowa on Labor Day. And KWW reporter Vinnie Lowry was at his event earlier today and spoke to the former vice president and his wife.
Candidate Biden critiqued the current state of the U.S.-China trade war, saying the agricultural side is in jeopardy.
Iowa farmers have worked for years and years and years to build up markets in China. China is not flooding the U.S. market with agriculture. We are the ones. The president, it's great to be tough on China when it doesn't affect you at all. And farmers are getting killed, as are manufacturers.
A tough topic for the Bidens to discuss is their personal story with health care. In a new emotional political ad, he talks of the need for the Affordable Care Act to stay in place.
It's uncomfortable to talk about, but it is personal. I mean, I guarantee the American people that if I'm elected, I will not walk away from making sure everyone has health care.
Currently, candidate Biden is ahead of other candidates in polling. In Iowa City, Vinnie Lowry, News 7, KWWL.
Vinnie, thank you. Now, candidate Biden also discussed investing $200 billion nationally to apply to modern infrastructure.
Buttigieg was in Waterloo earlier. He toured downtown Waterloo with Mayor Quinton Hart and talked with a couple small business owners before talking with people at Anton's Beer Garden in downtown. Buttigieg says one way to bring people closer together is through national work projects.
One of the things that we've put forward is a call to national service, creating opportunities for paid national service, year-long experiences, actually funding the Serve America Act, which would give us $250,000 in my first year.
He's also touting his higher education plan by making tuition at public universities more affordable.
A new poll out tonight from the Register and CNN. It shows Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders as the early frontrunners in Iowa for president among the Democrats who will likely be taking part in the Iowa caucuses.
That's right. The two are nearly neck and neck. Sanders with 25% support. Biden has 27% support, even though he has not actually officially entered the race. Now, no one else in the 20-person field reached 10% support. Biden and Sanders also led the December
argument to counter what Yang has said, to say that Iowa actually does a pretty good job of setting the table for what's going to happen in New Hampshire.
And it certainly makes the candidates realize they have to be organized at a very local level to have an impact in the Iowa caucuses. And I remember a friend of mine said, one time, and maybe I told you this too, and viewers, that there was a time in the Iowa caucuses, if you had a vehicle and a full tank of gas, you could compete. Yeah, and those days are gone now, though. Yeah,
I think they are. Yeah, they are. And I have a colleague who tells a good story about being out at someone's farm and seeing someone coming down a road on a bicycle, and it was Jimmy Carter just bicycling around the state.